Some days feel like they shouldn't have happened at all, and today was certainly one of those days. In fact, I'd be lying if I said the past few hundred days weren't a blur of moments I wish I could erase. Things used to be different. Life was vibrant, filled with joy, anticipation, and excitement. I used to wake up every morning ready to tackle whatever the day had in store, diving headfirst into new projects, eager to embrace the challenge. Evenings were just as exciting, knowing I'd return home to my beautiful wife. Weekends were an escape into bliss, full of long walks, camping trips, hikes, and intimate moments that felt like the world belonged to us. But somewhere along the way, everything changed, and the happiness we once had slipped through our fingers. The hardest part? I can't even pinpoint when or how it all went wrong. Maybe it was the vacation in Cozumel, the night I woke up to use the restroom and discovered my wife was not in bed. I went down to the pool area to try to find her, thinking that maybe she couldn't sleep and had gone to relax and read by the pool. What I found was a long line of guys waiting to get into the women's shower. At the front of the line, there she was, pulling a train. I always knew she was AS, but this was a little over the top. Perhaps it was that night she went out with her girlfriends. Who knew she would get a headache and come home early to find me buried deep in Cindy, our next-door neighbor's 18-year-old daughter. I'm sure you are wondering, why the hell are we still together? Well, marriage counseling can be a wonderful thing. We had an excellent therapist and worked through each of these incidents, and others, amicably. We talked them out and agreed we had both been in the wrong in each instance and had made amends. Life was great for a while after the counseling, seemingly back to the way it was when we were first married. Little did I know she had learned how to hide her activities better and not stop them like she assured me she did. This morning, I was searching for a tie and found an envelope full of pictures from our wedding day on the top shelf of the closet. I thought they were all in the album but could understand right away why these weren't. There she was in her wedding gown. Something blue, something new, something borrowed, something like that anyway. The something that got my attention was my best man C, in my beautiful bride's mouth. Seeing the pastor there in living color with his C in her ass really was not a shock knowing what I knew about her. Wait, you're saying? Things have been going well since the counseling and this was a long time ago. Read on, my dear friends. I would have called in dead this morning, but I had a very important presentation to give to the executive team. I had been working on this deal for well over a year, virtually on my own, and had finally come to an agreement with the client for representation. This deal would guarantee my position in the company for the rest of my life if I so chose. It seems that bringing a few $100 million into the company coffers has that effect. I had my presentation ready to go, and a damn good one if I say so myself. Screw PowerPoint. I had gone straight to video. If you're enjoying my content, consider joining my Patreon community. By becoming a patron, you'll get access to full parts of my videos much earlier than everyone else. Plus, you'll be supporting me to create even more awesome content for you. Check out the link in the description to join now. DVD to be exact, with paid actors laying out the proposition step by step, stressing the positive financial aspect, of course. I had paid dearly for professional graphics and a killer soundtrack to boot. Well, I should have known it was all for naught. My biggest problem at work was in a hole named Brad. No matter what I did, he would try to one-up me. If possible, he would steal my ideas as his own. Given half a chance, he would badmouth me to the executive team daily. Oh, did I mention he is the father of that 18-year-old neighbor girl? The counseling didn't seem to have much effect on him for some reason. Go figure. Something about knowing that I popped his sweet little daughter's cherry seems to have left him with a bad taste in his mouth. I can't imagine why. There I was, ready to cue up my presentation when Brad walked into the conference room. I should have picked up the nearest heavy object and caved his worthless skull in when I saw the smirk on his face. I was still thinking a bit slow, with what I had already faced that morning, and didn't get the chance. It seems that B-Boy had done some research on this new client I had been busting my ass to sign up. He gleefully laid it out on the table for all to see. There was nothing here I hadn't seen before, but some of it had information I really didn't want the executive team seeing. In our business, the first impression given by a company is everything. It does not matter what the truth is. If someone will believe a line of B, then that becomes the new truth. Bradley proceeded to inform the big bosses that my new client would be bad for our business from a moral standpoint. He had discovered that one of the subsidiaries of this multinational giant produced pea graphy. I already knew this, and pointed out that the income generated from this subsidiary accounted for less than 1% of the gross revenue for my client, as well as the fact that the porn in question was restricted to the European market. As I said, first impressions are God. The board consisted of a bunch of guys in their 70s, and over who hadn't been laid since Nixon was president. I was very promptly and not so politely informed that they were immensely disappointed with my work and that my services were no longer needed. Did I mention that Brad is in a hole? I had no choice but to go home. I figured I would guzzle a few beers to try to drown my sorrows, maybe watch some TV and just be a complete couch potato for a few days. Maybe Cindy from next door would come home in her cheerleader outfit. A guy has to have something to look forward to in life. When I pulled into my street, I knew something was fishy. Parked there in front of my house was not one, not two, but 3 municipal garbage trucks. I pulled over a few houses down and walked slowly to my house, wondering what was going on. I quietly worked my way around back, peeking into every window I passed. I found the answer in the game room. There she was in all her glory, with 6 garbage men. From what I could see, one was laying on his back while she was, well, you know. Another was crouched behind her. There was another kneeling at her head. 2 others were getting ready, and the last was laying on the couch with a dazed look on his face, apparently already spent. My life just keeps getting better and better, I thought. I snuck away from the window and went quickly back to my car, retrieving my digital camera from the glove box. I made my way back to the game room window and snapped as many pictures of her tryst as I could. Some damn good ones, too. I wanted to document this, not for future J-off material, but for court. I was finally sick of dealing with this. The bee had to go. As I watched and snapped pictures, she was having a jolly good time. Each of the 6 trash haulers would swap positions every few minutes to get there. It was more than a bit disturbing to watch the big hairy fat F. She didn't seem to mind a bit. When I saw them swapping places, it was clear that not one of these dirty pieces of S was wearing a C. They went at it for quite a while. On some sick and P level, I was impressed with their stamina. Each of the guys got time in each position, at least twice during the time I was there. For the grand finale, she laid down on the floor with all 6 of them around her in a circle. When the satisfied public workers started getting dressed, I made my way back to my car and headed across town to a club I knew was open at this time of morning. The Pink Peacat was a mid-scale strip club I had frequented back in my single days. The dancers were not the best, but they were not the bottom of the barrel either. The girls were all friendly and didn't have a problem sitting and talking with the customers, even without laying out the bucks for a few table dances. There was none of the "I'm so beautiful, worship me" attitude that was prevalent at most of the higher-class clubs. Some of the girls were exceedingly beautiful, but had not inherited the bee goddess gene along with their looks. I had not visited the club for quite some time, but it was clear that not much had changed since the last time I was here. The place was clean with only a few customers at this time of the day. There were a few guys scattered around nursing their beers and trying to hide there while ogling the girls. I made my way to the back of the room to the darkest corner. I needed alone time. Time to think and make plans to get rid of the worthless bee who called herself my wife. Before I got comfortable, a girl was already there asking what I wanted to drink. She temporarily made me forget my bad day in a hurry. She introduced herself as Crystal and was absolutely adorable. About 5 feet 1 inch, long brunette hair, striking blue eyes, high perky chest that would be a perfect handful, and a full, firm, round ass. "Want some company?" she asked as she returned with my beer. "Maybe in a bit. I'd like to just relax a while," I replied. "Okay, don't forget about me," she said with a wink and a smile before she walked away, wiggling her perfect ass. I sat there watching some of the girls dance for a while, just relaxing and trying to get my mind to stop going a million miles an hour. After an hour or so, I was much calmer and thinking a little more clearly. The first thing I had to do was deal with the pictures I had taken. I pulled my laptop out of its case, setting it up on the small table in front of me. This place had a lot of business customers, so a laptop wasn't a new sight. I reached in my pocket and removed the memory card from the camera, plugging it into the slot on the side of the laptop. Computers were okay. Cameras, of course, were forbidden. After I downloaded the pictures, I went through each one, cropping, fixing color, enhancing, whatever it needed. I was almost done with them when Crystal walked up and plopped down beside me. I didn't see her coming and didn't have a chance to minimize the screen. "What are you working on?" she asked, as her eyes got wide with surprise. I decided I might as well tell the truth. It might help if I got it off my chest. I told her what I had seen that morning at my house, in explicit detail. I suppose I could have given her a somewhat R-rated version, but I was in the mood to see if I could shock her. To my surprise, the expression on her face hardly changed. If anything, she began looking serious. Other things were definitely changing. I could see her get hard under her sheer top and could distinctly smell sweet in the air by the time I was done with my story. "So, what are you going to do now?" she asked with genuine concern. "Well," I replied, "I'll probably go home, show her the pictures, and kick her sorry ass out." Crystal thought for a minute. "I have a better idea," she said with a smirk on her face. "How about you go home and act like everything is fine? Don't tell her you lost your job or that you caught her this morning. Do your best to act normal. For the next few days, come by here while you would normally be at work. See if you can catch her and get more pictures for proof before doing anything. The more proof you have, the better case you can make. She will get most of what you have and spousal support if you go to court with just these pictures. I used to F a guy who was a divorce lawyer. He taught me a lot. I had to admit, this sounded like a good idea. I know she'll try to F me," I said bluntly. "I really don't want to get anywhere near her. There's no telling what she caught this morning. Just tell her you aren't feeling well, you have a headache or something. That might work, but only for a day or two. This should only take a few days. If it takes longer, you can go out of town on a business trip for a week or so," she said. "If she's as much of a skank as you were saying, she'll have something set up pretty much every day, so getting more evidence won't be a problem." "Okay, I'll see what happens. I'm sure the S will be busy," I replied, chuckling. "She's not AS," said Crystal with a serious look on her face. "I'm AS, she's a skank. S are out for a good time, but in a good way. Skanks F people over when they have a good time. There's a big difference." "I can't believe you just told me that you're AS." I laughed. Crystal gave me a cute little grin and said, "Oh, but I am. See those two girls?" she said as she pointed across the room to the main stage where two of the cutest little things I had ever seen were grinding against each other. "That's Brittany and Kayla. They're my roommates, and guess what? They're S too. You seem like a really nice guy who's getting F in a bad way. I'll go talk to them and see if we can't arrange something to cheer you up, to take your mind off things for a while." She paused, then quickly added, "If you wanted that is." "You what?" I blurted out. I couldn't believe this. "Like I said, if you want to. We'll make you forget all about the skank. Believe me." Crystal sat there with a very cute, very devious, very sexy grin on face. She was loving the fact that she had shocked me when I had failed to shock her.